Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Artisan Cutlery Trust, which has really good ratios and a really good weight. It's pretty compact given the size. This is actually a pretty nicely designed pocket knife for EDC, and I did enjoy carrying it. I don't know who the designer is, and I'll tell you why. I went to the website, and I'm sure I could have dug around a little bit more, maybe on some other websites, but I went to Artisan Cutlery's website, and they have a bunch of information. They have his picture, they have a quote from him. For the life of me, I couldn't actually find his name on that page. So perhaps it's my fault. I have overlooked things like this in the past. If you guys would like to look and see if his name is actually on that page, it'll be linked down in the description. I could not find it. I really would like to credit the designer here, but if it's not there, Artisan Cutlery, you should definitely put his name on his picture. That'd be a good idea, but I could be wrong. Again, I might just be blind. So anyways, I'm really sorry about that. Thank you so much to Artisan Cutlery for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure that your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and measure this knife. Overall length of the trust coming in at 8 inches. I'm measuring it at 8. Blade length 3.65 inches. Pretty awesome ratios. 3.45 inches of cutting edge. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others, up against my own full size and compact Excalibur. It's right in between with a more narrow profile. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Ouch, I pinched myself there. Got my finger too close to the compression lock. It's closer to the size of the PM2, but with quite a bit more cutting edge. Look at that. That's pretty cool. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Hogue Deca. I'd say the Hogue Deca is probably the closest to the profile here. How is the action? It's pretty good. It's about what I'd expect. Sorry, I'm throwing my knives all over the place. About what I'd expect in terms of pivot action. Pretty darn smooth. The access to the lock bar is good. Sometimes when I disengage the lock bar, I feel a little bit of a crunch, and I think, yeah. So here's what's happening there. It's not lock stick. It's that this lock bar is mashing in to the inlay here, and it's getting stuck. So to avoid that, you need to come at it more from this side. And I know what he was trying to do here. I think there's a quote on the website that he wants it to look really symmetrical from, looking on, and he did do that. And, to be fair, there is an easy way around this. When you disengage it, make sure that you are not pushing in and then over. Make sure you're pushing over as far as you can. This would be made easier if there was a subtle cutout here, and the reason there's not a subtle cutout is because the designer wanted it to look a particular way in the closed position. So it's not a deal breaker, and there's a way around it, but some of you will naturally disengage this frame lock by pushing down first and then over, in which case the back of this frame lock will grind against this inlay here, right? So it just depends on who you are, how you disengage things, and whether or not you are aware of this. But ever since I became aware of it, I just avoid it by coming in from the side, and I'm good. And honestly, the disengagement is nice. It's got really good pivot action, and it's easy to deploy given the position of the thumb, so that you can even do a nice reverse flick if you want to. So no issues there. Just wanted you guys to be made aware of that. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's a hair thinner than the Para 3. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a, whoops, beautifully, just like butt tapped that. This is a beautifully compact, full-size knife. It is very easy to carry. As you can see here, it doesn't take up nearly the same amount of total pocket space as the Para 3, despite being the same overall length. And the actual cutting edge that you get versus the Para 3 is substantially more. So that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I think all of these are going to be T8. Yeah. T8 pocket clip, T8 body screw, and T8 pivot screw, which is wonderful. Very easy to disassemble and put back together. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and weigh it. The weight of the trust here, had the PM2 just kind of hanging out there. There we go. 2.9 ounces is crazy. For a full titanium frame and a nearly 3.5-inch blade, I mean, there's still, you know, an enormous amount of cut. What did we measure the cutting edge at? Let me see. Let's do this again. I have thrown the tape measure. You know, there it is. It's red, like you'd think I'd be able to see it. The actual, yeah, the blade length is 3.65. The cutting edge length is I measured it at 3.45. I'm gonna say 3. No, I was right. It's 3.45. 3.4 at the shortest. So 3.65 inches of blade, 3.4 to 3.45 inches of cutting edge for 2.9 ounces of weight is amazing, and it puts it in, by my definition, the ultra lightweight category. No internal milling, but that's because there's already pockets milled out for the inlays here, which are really nice. Blade stock thickness. Let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on into the meat and potatoes. Blade stock thickness is coming in at, hold on, 0. You jerk! There we go. 0 and 106 thousandths. Okay. So for the materials here, we have titanium and aluminum for the inlay, and then we have S35VN for the blade. Artisan Cutlery is claiming their HRC is 60 to 62 on the S35VN, which is great. I would have accepted 59 and 61 on S35VN, so that's nice. They're putting it a point higher. And that's awesome because the price tag, I think, is totally fair. Ergonomic lines on this, very good because of the overlay or inlay here. Most of the frame lock is completely and totally covered, and that means you can go ahead and squeeze on this and bear down on it without really affecting the lock bar. I like that a lot. I think that's nice. I also like that the thumb studs are the stop in the open position. In the closed position, the stop is back here, but it's quite a ways, as you can see from the initial cutting edge of the plunge grind, so no issues there. But it's nice to see. I don't see that as much anymore. It's not that you get any like enormous benefit from that, but I do like seeing the studs as the stops, and I feel like getting the blade centered up and, you know, reducing or you know, eliminating blade play tends to be easier on knives that have a contact point on both sides versus just the spine of the blade touching a stop pin. But that could be in my head. I've always thought that. Either way, I like that. I like the stonewash finish on this. I like the elongated sort of reverse tanto look, kind of that 940 blade shape. Behind the edge is about medium. It starts off pretty thin and it comes down and, you know, tapers down to a reasonably, just kind of like a good medium edge, and it feels good. The cutting edge, the factory cutting edge is good. This is basically a long, slender, medium thin reverse tanto blade. It will be good at puncturing tasks, and it'll be fine at cutting and slicing tasks, right? Very similar to the absolute ocean of other blades that we have in the knife world. It will work. It's not going to do anything in an absolutely spectacular way, but it will absolutely work and will be to the vast majority of people's satisfaction. It says Artisan Cutlery on one side. We have the designer logo on the other. There's a little code, and then S35VN, which is great. I'll remind people, you know, a lot of times steels like S35VN, people, they complain and they whine, and why can't it be something new? S35VN is one of only a handful of steels that are actually made for pocket knives. So I understand some steels, you know, are more interesting, or at least the idea of them. But S35VN is always acceptable at, you know, such a massive price range because it doesn't take a lot to heat treat properly. The performance is really, really good, and it's actually made for pocket knives. 99.9% of the steels that we see on pocket knives were not actually made for pocket knives. Only a few of them are, and S35VN is one of them. So that's why S35VN, S45VN, LMAX, you know, well, LMAX is not made for pocket knives. Vanax, I don't think, was originally made for pocket knives. Magnica is similar to Vanax, right? A lot of those steels are some of my favorites. And, you know, it just so happens that they're made for pocket knives. They just seem to be very, very friendly and versatile, I guess. But then again, my usage habits are very everyman. They're very common. I don't do anything professional. I don't do like professional sharpening or blade steel testing or composition testing or anything like that. I just tend to kind of lean towards things that will do a lot of different things pretty well. Like, that's kind of all that I require. Though I do find a lot of the more exotic steels very interesting. for a totally different reason, right? It's just like Pokemon cards. I'm not really like going out and competing with Pokemon cards, but I do like to collect them because they're different colors and they're shiny. Some of them are more or less shiny. I love pointing out that the knife hobby and collecting pocket knives is legitimately exactly the same thing as collecting Pokemon cards, especially when you have a bunch of knives that you don't use. It is exactly the same thing, and it's so funny to me whenever I bring it up. I get people in the comments who are like, how dare you? It's not at all the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. Now, pocket knives, you collect them, you use them, and you got the different steels and you use them. Then okay, yeah, there's differences. But for a lot of us, for those of us who have grails, it's the same thing, guys. It's the same thing. But that's okay, right? It takes people a little bit to come around to the reality of that. Anyways, sorry, tangent there. Not really a whole lot else to say. The ridges here provide, kind of not really anything meaningful. You can feel it, but I would say the traction or anything that you get that's assisting in, your grip, it's pretty negligible. Backspacer back here, simple flush backspacer. This has a pocket clip that can be mounted on either the right or left hand side. The pocket clip is extremely stiff. Extremely small, extremely thin, extremely stiff. I would have preferred a thicker clip. A wider clip, one that wasn't quite so tight, and one that was a little bit longer. It's just so short. It's very pinchy. I can get it in and out of my pocket. Like right now I'm wearing athletic shorts and it's fine. If you're wearing like thick, jeans or something like that, you're going to be fighting it a lot. So just be aware of that. No blade play up, down, left to right. As long as you engage with a lock bar from the side or as much to the side as you can, there's no weird stickiness. But again, the stickiness is not on the lock face. It's getting stuck back here on this inlay. No pivot lash, very smooth and consistent in here, and a nice detent with, I think I've been firing this thing a lot, but now it appears to still be perfectly centered. No detent lash either. The price is $192. Pretty good. Pretty good. I think it probably could have been slightly less. Artisan Cutlery does S90V in titanium for like $200. So this was a collab. It wasn't an in-house design, but I think this particular one could have been slightly less. That being said, it's really not a bad price. Kaiser, for example, will compete with these exact same materials at a lower price point on an average of like $20. Now, an average of like $15. So I think Artisan could have done a little bit better, but then again, I'm not really upset with the price tag. All the way around, pretty good premium EDC. Nobody needs to spend this much money to get a good knife, but if you're looking in this territory and you're trying to get some of the better materials, this isn't a bad choice at all. It's pretty good. I'm going to say, generally speaking, this is a recommendable knife. So I'm going to put it in my recommended knives playlist. That's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.